As promised, we're back with the left Joy-Con problem on console number 2. Let's get the back off and check it out. Okay, let's get the back off, see if there's any sort of liquid damage or anything that might cause the problem with the left Joy-Con. Okay, so we're looking at this side, this rail over here. I don't see any, wait a second, what do we have down here? So I think we can see on camera there's a little tiny bit of corrosion down here. So I'm guessing, yeah, we got a little bit right here too. So I'm thinking there's probably a little problem on this ribbon cable right here, possibly. And I'll also need to clean all this off. I'm gonna use some IPA and a toothbrush to get that all clean. And then hopefully we can get this Joy-Con working properly again. Let's look at the cable first. Oh yeah. You can see right there, we got lots of corrosion right in there on the cable. So I'm gonna disconnect the battery. And then we'll get this all cleaned up. Yeah, we might have some problems on the ribbon cable itself. Actually, it might be okay. And clean it up a little bit. I don't have my microscope down here, it'd be easier to tell under there, but. Okay, and then I'm also gonna disconnect the speaker. We wanna make sure if there's any corrosion in there, we take care of that as well. It doesn't really look like there is, so I think we're good there. So that actually looks really good. I don't see any more corrosion around here. Since we tested the Joy-Con, we know that it did work here, but the connection was just intermittent. So I think with cleaning this all up, I think that's actually going to take care of our problem. I will double check this under my microscope just to make sure. But for now, let's hook it all back up and see if the Joy-Con stays connected the whole time. Okay, good news, it connects right away. So we're just gonna kind of play around with it here and see if it ever disconnects. Okay, so all of the buttons are working on the controller in this controller test, so that's good. Okay, so initially it looks like we fixed that problem. I'm gonna go ahead and check this more, and then I'm gonna replace the thermal paste on the back. Then we'll clean the screen up and we will reset the system to factory settings, and then this one will be ready to go, assuming that this Joy-Con stays connected. And once we're all done with that, hopefully we'll be done with number 2. So number 2 we're gonna call done, even though there is a few more things I'll do to it. We fixed the liquid damage connector and other components on the motherboard. Luckily there was very little damage there at all. We put new thermal paste on and then we tested it and everything looks good. Now let's get to switch number 1. This one is interesting because it's one that's bent, but it does charge normally and it does turn on. So let's check it. And it also connects to the internet just fine. So this one actually looks like it works just fine. So far we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10 that are fixed, and these ones took very little work to repair them. So that's the great news. Now the other 5 are probably gonna take a little more work. Let's start taking a look at those ones. I'm almost constantly being asked, Steve, where is the best place to buy parts for my console? Do you guys sell parts? Where can I get parts? So I reached out to one of my favorite parts suppliers on eBay to see if they would like to sponsor this video. So this video is sponsored by EP Game Supply. EP Game Supply has all sorts of parts and accessories for almost any games console, anywhere from the Xbox 360 all the way up to the Nintendo Switches and Xbox One X. If you're looking to get to their store on eBay, you can just type into Google EP Game Supply and you will find them come up on the first listing, and you can see they have parts for pretty much anything you're gonna need on any of the consoles you're working on. So I will leave a link for EP Game Supply. The top link in the description will be for EP Game Supply, and you just click on that link and it'll take you right to their eBay store so you can get the part that you need there. Also, when I contacted them about sponsoring this Nintendo Switch video, they said they would be happy to send me out some accessories for Nintendo Switches, and I told them what I do is just put these accessories in random Nintendo Switch orders that come off of my websites from you guys. So when you purchase a Nintendo Switch off of my website, you may just get one of these free accessories from EP Game Supply. So number 6 has been really interesting so far. When I first plugged it in, it charged and it showed a display. Now, after messing with it for a little bit, it will charge at 0.45, which is normal slow charging, but then it won't display. So that was a few days ago. Let's check and see what it does now. 0.19, okay, we do have a display again, and it's at 0.40, so that's fine. So, okay, so now it's acting normally again. I'm not sure what to think of this one. Maybe could be a battery problem, possibly. I don't really know for sure. I am gonna need to just let this charge again and then see what it'll do after it's fully charged. The other thing I might do is just get a known good battery and plug it in and then see if we get a display that way. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. I'm gonna put in a good battery and then see what the display does. If it works how it should, that'll give us an answer right away. So here we have our known good battery. Now we're gonna take this back plate off after we've gotten all the screws out. We'll disconnect this battery, plug in our good one, and now we'll check the display. Here we go. Good. Good. Okay, well, that's good news. So I'm gonna just let this sit on a charger and maybe it's gonna work now. I'm not sure, maybe I need to clean the charge port, maybe I need to double check it and make sure it's not faulty, but this is great news. And here we have number 4. This one charges, it's got a bad LCD, but the digitizer seems good. So now we can talk about the other one that I've been having a pretty big problem with, and that is, let me grab it here. I've got it all apart. That is number 5. This one, we got a blue screen on. Unfortunately, I can't figure out the blue screen problem. I've tried pretty much everything and just no solution at all to the blue screen. So what I'm gonna do is swap this motherboard into this one, and then that'll take care of the LCD issue. And then the motherboard for the other one, I'll just put into here or just kind of leave it loosely, and I'm just gonna use it for parts. As you can see, all the chips are good on it, so I can use that for lots of different parts. So that's what I'm gonna do now, swap the motherboard in, and then we'll test number 5. Okay, there we go. Now let's test it. There we go. Good. Okay, great news. This one looks like it's working. I'm gonna finish putting it all together, and then I'll need to swap the serial number with the other one just because each serial number needs to stay with its own motherboard, and then I'll check it all again and make sure it's fully 100% working. Okay, so number 4 is now working. Granted, we haven't tested it 100% yet. I will be doing that probably off camera because I'm sure you guys only want to see so much testing. Now I'm going to swap this serial number sticker over just so we have the right serial number for this motherboard, and then we're going to call number 4 done as well. Now we're going to call number 4 done. The only one we have left is number 8. In my previous series of Nintendo Switch repair videos, I showed you guys how to replace the charge port, but I'll do it again in this one just so you can see it again. I got quite a few questions about people asking me what the gel was that I used to remove chips on the motherboards on these switches. Now, what removes them is the heat and melting the solder, but what helps the solder flow is called solder flux. Now, I use a Kingbo. It's a paste flux, and it melts at a higher temperature than a lot of other fluxes, so that's why I use this. I will leave a link in the description for this, and I will also leave a link for this solder sucker. Now, this, as you saw in the video, I was using to pull out the solder of the 2 mounting pins on the front of the board. So that's just easier for me when I go to mount the new port in there. It's easier to not have solder in there because then I don't have to keep all of it liquid at the same time. So this is what I use for that. It's a solder sucker, and I will leave a link to that in the description below as well. So number 8 is the one we replaced the charge port on. Let's test that and see if it charges normally and if everything else works on it. And we have 1.58 charging. And we do have a display on the screen. So obviously I'll need to go through and test that, replace the thermal paste, have a look at the motherboard, all that stuff, but it looks like that one is working. And for number 5, this was the one that had the blue screen and it would charge at 0.46 but no display. This one I actually swapped the good motherboard into because I can't figure out the blue screen problem yet. So let's double check this one. Charging at 1.74 amps, we've got a good display. Everything looks good so far in this one. I will also need to test this and do all the final checks, and then it'll be ready for sale. Which leaves us with number 6. Now this one charges at 0.45 but no display, but it does work with a good battery. So I need to try this with a good battery. So let's get that battery replaced now. I'm gonna replace it with the blue screen battery because that battery probably works fine, but we'll get it replaced, then charge it and see what happens. Okay, we have the battery replaced. Now let's see if it charges. And more importantly, if it charges and shows a display. We've got 0.40 here. And we have a charging symbol. So this is great news. That means this one's probably working, but we'll have to make sure it gets all the way charged and then retest it again. While that's charging, I'm gonna go ahead and put the thermal paste on, and then we'll put that back plate back on and then the back cover. Got to double check everything here, make sure everything is connected. It looks like it is. Now we're ready to go with the plate. Now I'm going to be using actually one of my favorite new tools. This is called a wow stick. It's like a small precision screwdriver. and it is great when I'm doing a bunch of these because it really saves my fingers and wrists from all the twisting. And I just got it this week. I'll leave a link in the description to this on Amazon as well. It's super cool. It's got a magnetic tip up here, so it'll keep the screws in. And then you just tighten it down. It's got a forward and reverse, got lights right here, which is kind of cool. And it also comes with like 3 tubes of bits, so it's got all sorts of bits in it, which is cool too. And I never knew how well these would do, especially like with torque. I was always afraid I would get one and then it wouldn't have enough torque to really do anything. This one actually does pretty well. I've been surprised. And even if it doesn't have enough torque, you can just twist it like a normal screwdriver, so that actually works out just fine. This is not sponsored or anything. It's just one of my new tools that I think is really cool. So if you guys have been looking for something like this, I definitely recommend this one. Now we have number 6 all put back together, and we gotta let it charge and see how it does. Also, I did have to sell number 10 to a customer that sent their switch in, and it actually wasn't fixable here, so they wanted to buy another one, so I sold number 10 to them. So these things are already selling, but if you're interested in buying one, go to the link in the description. It'll take you to my website where you can purchase one of these switches for yourself. And now it's time for the final count of how many I could fix. So this is number 1 that I've already sold. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 10 that work. This is amazing. I don't think I've ever done this well on any lot of switches that I've got. Let me know in the comments how many you guessed I could fix in the first video. Now for this lot of switches, I paid $78 each and I fixed 9 out of 10. So I'm expecting to sell these for a minimum of $175 each. That would mean I could make $1,575 off of them, minus the cost that I paid for them. That brings us to $795, and that would be pretty close to the total profit. I do have to count in some parts and whatnot, but overall the parts for these ones were pretty cheap, and I got most of the parts out of that one console that I couldn't repair. So overall, I'm very happy with this Nintendo Switch lot. Once again, I'll put the link in the description below if you want to purchase these and get a shot at getting some of the goodies that EP Game Supply sent me to put in with the Switches that people buy. If you're enjoying these Switch repair videos, come hang out with me on the playlist you'll see on your screen now, and we'll fix some more. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.